What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back with
Gersh1
in another episode of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first.
That is what D406 has asked. His question is, does kitbashing have a negative effect to the business model of sellers such as GW and others?
No.
I don't think so.
My closet proves it. If you go into my closet, you're going to find like 3 different boxes for one unit. I haven't built it yet, but that's usually what kitbashing does. Is it
makes you buy multiple boxes of the same unit because you need those extra pieces.
Yeah, and even if you're one of those types of people that holds on to every single bit after you've opened up the box, which you should be.
Yeah.
You should never throw away any bits. At some point, you're going to be like, damn, this would be a really cool concept, but I'm missing legs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me go buy this box set because I know that this box set has an extra pair of legs. I'm going to build a unit and I'm going to have that extra pair of legs that I could use for this one. And then it's just kind of like, it makes you feel like you're recycling bits in a way. But at the same time, you're just spending more money.
Yeah. On the plus side of that, say you do have extra bits, now you could like embellish either your bases or your terrain with like, say you got somebody's hacked off arm, or you got a skull trophy that you could have. There's a lot you can do with kit bashing and buying extra boxes because, like you said, always be able to recycle it, even if it's not for you. So you got other people that play, and you want to build like a narrative out of it. Then you could be like, oh, I know this guy's got bits. Let me see what I could trade my bits for his bits. And then it's all positives
with bits. Next question comes from Robert Has Downs Jr. What are y'all next big Warhammer or D&D purchases? Can you pick up some milk later? So the first one.
I am allergic to milk, so.
You're not allergic to milk. You're allergic to milk, really?
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh, okay. I guess, yeah. Okay. It's because if you don't know.
Now you know.
Yeah. And then what's the next big 40K or D&D purchase?
I don't know if it's considered big or not, but I still want to get to the... Oh, man, I forgot what it's called. Whew. The Chaos model that came out. It's like a warp dude, warpsmith on a... I forgot what it's called, damn.
Like the crawler thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is that Forge World?
No, it's GW.
Okay. As far as like my big purchase, I'm not gonna buy anything big. The last thing that I purchased for D&D was actually, if you see that blue little dot over there, right next to the No Fear box that we're giving away. Check out the 40 facts on the Space Marine Homeworld chapter video to have a chance to win that. But that dragon, I bought that dragon for the D&D campaign that I'm going to run probably in like a couple weeks. And yeah, I love D&D. I love the fact that because we're so accustomed to playing Warhammer 40K and like the cheapest thing that you would buy is like $25, like you go on to any other type of game and then you realize I only have to pay $15 and I get a whole freaking dragon.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what?
I'd be paying at least $80 at GW for this.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Oh, let's see.
I went from something mildly homophobic. That sounds like something like you have Cards Against Humanity and that card was up for something. Anyways, if the Primarch's 30K era were to have a battle royale, who would win and who would be the last man standing? Vulcan or Alfarius?
I'd say Magnus would be one of the last ones, just because he's powerhouse of
the cell.
Yeah, he's mitochondria in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to say, but I think statistically, Alfarius and Omegon would probably be up there, and like I agree that Magnus will also be up there.
But again, knowing Magnus is a big threat, maybe they'd all team up on him.
Yeah. And, like, it's not even they're not even hiding the fact that most Primarchs don't like Magnus. During the Council of Nicaea, Magnus was the one that was criticized for all his magic or warp powers, psychic powers.
Sorceries. Sean Cook, with all the people in the galaxy who see the Emperor as a god, why hasn't he manifested as a chaos god of order and light within the warp, where his section of the warp has become an idealistic paradise and a utopia?
He already has. It's called the Army of the Light. It doesn't have a, like, it's not canon specific, but there's little hints in the lore that make it seem that way. What we were just talking about them last episode, what are they called? The Flaming Space Marines?
Legion of the Damned?
The Legion of the Damned, the Imperial Saints, all of that kind of stuff kind of points to the fact that, yeah, the Emperor is creating an army of the light within the warp, and he is a god of order. So. Next question.
Travis, do you think that the warp is literally a limitless supply of energy? If so, does that mean that the 40K universe will never undergo a heat death?
It could be. I don't know enough about space and a heat death to actually answer that. Nor could we answer it because the warp is just...
It's chaotic.
And it's not real.
Right.
So it doesn't follow the laws of physics.
Heat death can happen. The universe is just going to spontaneously combust.
Well, it's like arguing the fact, like, well, if God is real, then he can do this. It's like, well, I mean... If, yeah.
Speaking of if, DeFool06 asks, how many heads does your Hellhound have?
2. One of them is furry and the other one is not. I think I know what heads you're talking about. Next question comes from... Francisco Viejo. If the Lion comes back, would he take up the title of Dante, which is ruling Imperium Nihilus?
So basically, I don't think... Well, I think Dante, being the honorable chapter master that he is, he would gladly give up the title to a Primarch. He's fought alongside Primarch since he is the oldest living Space Marine that's still in combat, and that's not interred within a Dreadnought. So I think he'd be willing to give up that title to a Primarch.
Agreed. Next question comes from Squiggly Line. Is the Rosarius some sort of personal void shield, or does it use a different type of tech? A Rosarius is what an Inquisitor carries. It's kind of his badge of office. Yes, it emits some type of shielding. Check out our 40 facts on the Rosarius. It's just going to explain it. Also, check out our 40 facts on the Sisters of Battle, or the origins of the Sisters of Battle, because I can't remember how I titled it.
Gouge Van Dyer.
He was... Gouge Van Dyer was the first person to use a Rosarius in a negative way.
Well, I guess it depends on what you see it, but...
Yeah, he, like, tricked people into believing that the Emperor was protecting him, to the point where he had one of the Sisters of Battle, I think her name was like the Canoness or whatever, shoot him, and then the bullet was destroyed, because he was wearing this Rosarius. And from then on, like, it's an inquisitorial thing.
Yeah. Which is weird. Like, this guy almost ruined the Empire, or the Imperium, but let's all use these things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But at the same time, it is really helpful.
It is, yeah. Next one.
DeFool06, once again. So Warhammer Fantasy got killed off, and it was rebranded as Age of Sigmar with new models. So, what happens to the hobbyists, the collectors, and the players of this old Warhammer Fantasy game?
They keep playing. Well, what happened was a huge chunk of the Warhammer Fantasy people bitched about Age of Sigmar, but now they're starting to realize that Age of Sigmar is actually kind of fun. It's even quicker than 40K. And Fantasy. Fantasy and 40K, and then they're going back and they're playing it now. What happens to like the hardcore people who were all about the game? They continue to play that type of game.
Mm-hmm.
You could find that in like the I never personally played, but like I think it's Mordheim, Inquisitor or Inquisition. No, I think it's Inquisitor. Those are all games that GW created in the past. Necromunda was one of them. GW created them in the past, and they stopped supporting them, but people kept playing to the point where Facebook groups have been established to keep promoting these games.
Yeah. So just because a game is dead doesn't mean the community is awesome.
Yeah, like if GW one day was like, yeah, 40K is not a thing anymore, we wouldn't stop creating lore videos. We'd keep going.
Yeah, I'd still keep playing the game, like just because, like a lot of things, like especially in D&D, I hear a lot of people complaining about how like, oh, D&D 3.5 was the best time. You can still play, edition 3.5. You don't have to play 4 or 5. It's all what your play group wants to do.
Yeah.
And speaking of play groups, Kapokiev, what is your favorite fast food chain?
That's a tough one.
I gotta go with Popeyes.
Yeah, I think Popeyes is like an easy... Yeah, Popeyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next question comes from Josh. What isn't a threat in the grimdark future of Warhammer 40K?
Everything's a threat.
Yeah.
When you believe it's not a threat, that's when it's become a bigger threat. Because now you're not ready for it.
Even like pleasure worlds are a threat.
Yeah, because you could easily sink into the bowels of Slanesh on there.
Bowels. Next question. I have one from Brian B. Has there been any hints? Oh, well, we kind of answered that last one, so we will not answer that one. Next question comes from... You got one?
This is an interesting one by Dylan Hernandez. What if the Infinity Stones were introduced into 40K? And yes, they would be usable in 40K, and no, they cannot be corrupted by chaos. So basically how Infinity Stones work, at least in the comics, the stones can only work in their universe of creation. Since they got brought into the 40K universe, normally they wouldn't work, but this is the exception. I think it'd be pretty badass. I think whoever gets them would be able to control a pretty sizable army and a good chunk of like the universe. And I think it'll add an interesting new dynamic to it. Maybe have them as like a good fail-safe against like warp powers and stuff like that. So now it's not like, oh, chaos is fighting us. Now it's like this small section of like the Imperium has 2 Infinity Stones. So even though they're small, they're still a threat to the greater Imperium, and they can fend off chaos.
Mm-hmm. My mind quickly jumps to like, okay, the Infinity Stones would all be gathered together. What would be wished when
the Emperor comes back?
Yeah, like the Imperium would do something like that. Or maybe not even the Emperor coming back, but I think if the Imperium had the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones, they would wish chaos away.
Yeah, close the Eye of Terror, re-knit the, what is it, Maledictum?
Mm-hmm. And then like the other races would be interesting too. Like the Eldar would be like the death of Slanesh.
Yeah.
The Necrons, the resurrection of their dynasties.
Or maybe they'd want to get their flesh back.
Yeah, depending on what dynasty gets it, right? And what Overlord does it.
Mm-hmm.
It would add an interesting dynamic to like the story.
Yeah.
So,
because now you want to just have like battles between Tau against orcs. Now it's like the orcs have the time stone and they have to get it back or something like that.
It'd be goofy.
Yeah.
But those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. We do this 4 times a week. So if we didn't answer your question, keep trying. We will get to it. If you want to ask the same question multiple times on each video during the week, you could do that. That increases the likelihood that you're going to get that answered.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. This is Gersh1.
Sound Alchemist, and we are out.